Welcome to the Cosmic community members to our monthly Cosmic Symposium. I'm Philip Edgecombe, one of the co-founders and board members of Cosmic, which is the collective open source medical innovations 19 nonprofit organization. Our mission statement is to create abundant access to medical equipment through open source design solutions. And our particular focus right now is on designing respiratory equipment for COVID-19. This monthly symposium is an opportunity for us to come together as a community and share our project updates with each other, get some feedback. And it's also an opportunity for us to kind of broaden our reach because this is something that will be, that is being live streamed on Facebook and will be recorded and shared via our social media and YouTube channel. And in addition to broadening our reach, we also use it as an opportunity to meet someone else who's doing really compelling work in the kind of health innovation space. And that we'll hear from Lori, who's the founder and CEO of Binary Bridge, and I'll introduce her shortly. But just before I do that, what I'd like to do is encourage everyone to turn on their webcams so that we can say hello to each other. The best way to experience this is with gallery view on, so that you can see everyone else who's at the meeting. And we'll get a quick picture of everyone shortly. But before doing that, I'd love to know who is the farthest traveled. I think I can see Michael on, who I believe is joining us from Nova Scotia. So Michael, why don't you, if it's okay with you, just tell us where you are coming from and what brings you to the meeting, and then we'll see if anyone can better Nova Scotia in terms of farthest traveled. Vancouver, the reference point.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I am coming from just outside Halifax, and actually I just finished a run because it's about 9:30 here today, and I had to get my exercise in for the day. What brings me here today, actually, I was really quite excited to kind of reconnect with the opportunity to work with you, Philip. And so Philip presented at our meeting last week for CMBES. And 1 year ago, almost today, I was invited to participate with the group. There was a call across Canada, but frankly put, I was too sick and I was actually bedridden. So I actually couldn't answer this call. So I am thrilled to reconnect. I'm a biomedical engineer with about 21, 22 years experience. And I'm also a creative. I'm an artist outside of my engineering life. So I love to create. So, and I love to be involved with like-minded people.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Michael, and thank you for joining us. Thrilled to have you and thrilled to have your perspective as a biomedical engineer here. And is that some of your artwork in your background?
That's not one of mine, but
okay.
I do have, I've given most of mine away, frankly, or sold it. So yes.
Okay, good. Is anyone coming from further afield from Nova Scotia? Looks like you've got the win there, Michael. So thanks for coming. So
actually, I think I'm tied because I see Alan there as well.
Right. Alan, thank you for joining. Also from Nova Scotia, right?
Yep, I'm here in Nova Scotia as well.
Thank you so much for joining. So let's get a group picture. So if everyone would just give a smile, this is something that we'll share with our community. So thank you so much. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and cheese. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's get into the agenda. And that will include a presentation from Lori and then a project updates. So I will go ahead and introduce Lori without further ado. So Lori Most is the founder and CEO of Binary Bridge. Binary Bridge is a public benefit company with the specific mission to improve access to healthcare. I think that sounds familiar. And increase the quality of care in underserved locations. Lori's desire to bring high-tech solutions to amazing medical teams working in low-income countries drove her to start Binary Bridge. After nearly 20 years in the technology industry, Lori is applying her knowledge of software design and development to backpack EMR a portable patient tracking system for mobile clinics, reaching those without access to healthcare facilities in rural and low-income countries. Thank you very much, Lori, for joining us. Please take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for the intro. Well, I will start sharing my screens, and thank you for inviting me here. This is really fun to be here, and I am actually excited to hear more from all of you later as well. Let me share my screen here so I can run through. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I'll just give you a really quick overview of what we're all about, and happy to field any questions if you've got anything. But our product is called Backpack EMR. You can see it on my wall behind me here. Yeah, so founder of Binary Bridge. And just like you heard from our mission statement, we are expanding that access to high quality care in the most underserved and the fastest growing health tech markets. So a lot of these underserved locations are adopting technology like crazy right now. And I'm sure some of these stats are no surprise. A staggering half of the world's population lacks access to essential healthcare, and that's primarily in rural communities within low to middle income countries. So that's where we are targeting. The primary reason for the health crisis is, of course, a lack of healthcare professionals in the areas. For example, African countries average just 1 doctor per 10,000 people, compared to 26 per 10,000 in the United States, just as a reference point. And then additionally, a lack of accurate and timely health data causes slower responses to health crisis and causes issues addressing preventable illness and death. There's clearly several other things that your group is also addressing as well, including equipment and access to medical supplies as well. So our solution is addressing the two that I just described. So we are looking to add high quality medical specialists, access to them, and mentorship with that remote pool of doctors, along with the digital health data records for these rural communities. And that is our product, Backpack EMR. So it's a portable electronic medical records. So this is our platform. So it includes this easy to use app that's just downloaded onto tablets or phones. It all works offline and also online. So when you do upload it to the cloud, you can use our web portal, which is a secure way for you to access patient records. And then we also have administrative tools and email notifications for that virtual care program. Some of the features that we have, and I think the coolest feature is this offline data sharing network. So it's this custom built offline peer-to-peer syncing solution. And so essentially what it is you could take a group of, let's say, 20 iPads and distribute them throughout a clinic, just a mobile clinic. And you can see here in the example, we've got a group at registration. They're taking information and registering patients. And then that data will flow directly to all of the other stations. And we are offline here. So we're in Kenya in this example, in Lunga Lunga, and does not have access to the internet. So all the data is flowing amongst all these stations. We saw 1,000 patients in 2 days. So that's kind of our cool tech feature and why we can work in these underserved areas. We're also really heavily focused on customer support. That's something that I think a lot of solutions lack, just because there isn't the time or money to focus on that. But we really want to help people who are using this. So our asynchronous virtual care, just to describe what that is, it is essentially a way for people to work offline locally. So the health workers can then visit patients while they're offline using our app, and then they can request feedback from our remote specialists who then review those patient charts through the web portal. So this is a way to supplement and enhance the work of local healthcare teams, and specifically during pandemics or cases like now with COVID, or even unrest, civil unrest, things going on when they can't have access to those extra doctors. Another thing that we're doing to support local healthcare workers is that we plan to build predictive analytics into our app. So that's going to give suggested diagnosis and treatments based on past successful outcomes. Additionally, we're going to partner with portable medical devices like you see here, equipped with AI that can aid in local diagnosis and treatment plans as well. So that's going to further empower that local team to make routine diagnosis while reducing that reliance on external patient chart reviews and foreign aid assistance. So some of these are really cool if you've checked any of these out, like Butterfly. This is a live cord doing EKGs that are just very portable and easy to use. So we're pretty excited to start that. So why us? Why now? Why this project? So as all of you know, emerging economies are rapidly adopting healthcare technology. Additionally, COVID-19 shined this light on the need for alternatives to in-person visits and in-person clinics. And then historically, most global digital health projects have been grant funded. And those typically produce some of the lower tech solutions with a lot of high costs to sustain them, just because you're trying to do things, within that budget. So on the converse, we are all software professionals. We created this high-tech solution with a hosted software as a service model, leading to low maintenance costs for all of our customers using it. And that is investor funded. Talk a little bit more about that. So why not a nonprofit? So why did we go the public benefit company route? And I think this is especially interesting for a group like ours doing open source, which is also a fantastic way to help. We were looking from a public benefit corporation perspective because we didn't want to do nonprofit. So there are so many people trying to do good. Everyone is looking for all these grants. There's just not enough grants to go around. And also writing, managing, and auditing those grants is a lot of work. And it's just not our core competency either. And then, as I'm sure all of you know, experienced software developers are very expensive. So it's hard on a nonprofit sort of grant funded solution to hire those more kind of experienced software developers. So that is why not a nonprofit, but then why not a C Corp? So why didn't we just become a for-profit group? Well, we wanted to formally declare that mission. We wanted to say we are working for underserved groups. We're not going to be deploying in the US. And then that also forces us to legally stay on our mission. So legally, it is in our bylaws that we have that mission statement that we are working to improve access to care and high quality care in underserved locations. And then it also protects us from getting sued by shareholders. So I'm not sure how much you know about the PBCs, but essentially what that does is it protects us if we've got investors who come in and try to say that we are not looking for the biggest dollar that we could. They could sue other companies if we were a C Corp, but they can't sue us because it's in our bylaws that that's not our main focus. So from a revenue model standpoint and how we can be sustainable is that we do sell annual software subscriptions. They're very low cost for our nonprofits that are buying these. We do sell optional packages for equipment, and then we are now selling annual doctor memberships. And that is to go towards the cost of the software to supplement that, along with potentially helping to fund some medications for our in-country patients as well. So who is buying our system? Our initial customers are US funded, health focused NGOs. So we've started to expand then also into small permanent clinics as well. Most of those are US funded right now, and we're looking at others locally as well. We'll ultimately sell into larger health systems with some integrations and then access to those virtual medical specialists. So right now we've got 20 organizations using Backpack EMR across 22 countries. That's around 65,000 annual recurring revenue that we've got going on. So that's helping to sustain us. And then one thing that we really like is that 44% return visit. So that's what we're looking for, is that continuity of care in what we're doing. And that shows why this EMR is so important. So I threw this in here just so you could see we did get an impact measurement report done to show for investors. For every dollar that they're investing, there's $6 return on investment for social return on investment. And that includes things like reduced mortality rates, increased economic activity, and increased tax revenues as well. So we did do some studies on that. So really quick view of our team. So how can we sustain this? We have a very small team working together. So we've got, Brenda's had about 20 years experience in sales and marketing, and Dave is our product lead. He's also had about 10 years experience coding. And then we've got 4 others who are working part-time nights and weekends as well. Again, it's tough on, we're trying to work on a limited budget as well. But overall, our team has had about 70 years of coding experience as well to sustain this. So thank you for joining and giving us the opportunity to talk more about Backpack EMR, and let me know if you have any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. A very compelling, you're looking to solve. And from our perspective, I think interesting to understand how best to given the mission statement, how best to achieve that goal. And so I appreciate how you also delved into the public benefit corporation as a model for achieving that. So
Sure.
just we'll pause here to see if there are any questions for you from the audience.
I'm just curious, if I may ask the question.
Please.
I'm just curious about how did you calculate the return of investments, and how to calculate that impact, and what factors were sort of considered? I know it's probably a broad question, but
Yeah.
Just some insights would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had a third-party analytics team do that research for us. But what they did was they have a whole suite of references that they looked up to find kind of comparable impacts. So the impact of EMR on in different locations, along with continuity of care, what that will do, how you could actually impact all of those different factors. So they've looked up lots of different studies, whether they were journals, but they kind of collated all that data. And then they have this massive spreadsheet with all these algorithms where they've calculated it out through 5 years, through 10 years, with all kinds of different ranges for error. It was pretty impressive, the impact measurement reporting that they did.
Thanks a lot. I see Keith has his hand raised. So Keith, do you have a question?
Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. That was a wonderful presentation, Lori. And I was just curious to know, I think it kind of ties a little bit into Abhijit's question, and you might have mentioned it as well, but when you're looking for the success of the deployment of Backpack EMR, what kind of metrics are you guys analyzing, and what kind of a plan would Backpack EMR have to assess those metrics after sufficient period of time, just to see any kind of change?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are sort of evolving our KPIs, our key indicators as we go. Some of those are the return visits. So we know that that's where we can actually make an impact. So that's what we're starting with, along with the number of patients. And then we're also starting to look at outcomes. We don't have enough data to evaluate too much on the outcome side, but that's what we're trying to get. So we're starting to gather more and more data so that we can then see what the outcomes are over time. And then we're also starting to partner with a population survey team. So we're hoping that our customers can start doing population surveys before their work and then after. So when they start using Backpack EMR and then afterwards, so we'll start gauging some of those outcomes that way too. So it's going to be incredibly complex to do it, but we're doing baby steps to start, getting our impact sort of nailed down.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I know we have some other questions, and I'm just also aware of the time. We try to keep the recorded session of this to 30 minutes. So we're going to move on to hear from the teams to get an update. But at 6 p.m., ideally, we wrap this meeting up, stop the live stream, and then we stick around for kind of a informal mix and mingle and social. So hopefully we can address some of those questions at that point. Perfect. So next, I'm going to ask our oxygen concentrator team to share a brief update about their progress over the last month.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So the oxygen concentrator team is working on 3 projects right now. The first one is a conventional 2-vessel pressure swing adsorption. It's the technology that's been around for 50 years and is widely used in the commercially available oxygen concentrators. We're trying to come up with a design that can be manufactured close to point of use from common materials. And I will just share my screen here. Can you see the picture of the strange contraption with my pointer wiggling? Okay. Yeah. So this is a fairly conventional oxygen concentrator. It's not quite ready for prime time yet. It does produce oxygen, but not in the concentrations we want. We're just working through the prototype issues one after another, valves and instrumentations and stuff. But we think that there's some features in this design that will overcome problems that have defeated both commercial designs and also the open source designs. I'd be happy to talk about the the details, but you know what it's like talking about your hobby. You can go on and on. So we can save that for the question period. So this is the first project, conventional 2-vessel pressure swing. The next,
this, just so we're clear, this is the team has built this. This is the prototype that's sitting in Vancouver somewhere. Is that right?
That's right. This is a prototype as of 2 weeks ago. Right now, this white desktop is covered with instrument readouts and a computer and valve controls and stuff. And there's more plumbing, but this is what it looked like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, thank you.
The next project is it's another oxygen concentrator. It's a rapid pressure vacuum swing method. This is used in the more sophisticated, small, compact oxygen concentrators that you see people carrying over their shoulder in malls. Obviously, you don't want to carry this one over your shoulder, but the reason we're exploring this technology is that it's potentially significantly more efficient in terms of power consumption, and also much more efficient in terms of zeolite use, because it cycles about every second rather than every 3 to 5 minutes. It uses a very small quantity of zeolite. This particular gadget that we're looking at is the compressor that generates alternating pulses of pressure and vacuum, which increases the efficiency of the engine of the oxygen extraction. It also increases the thermodynamic efficiency of the process, because the energy that's kind of wasted compressing air is recovered when the air expands. So this is not yet producing oxygen, but you know, in coming weeks, we hope it will make noise and make oxygen. And then the third project that we're working on is algae oxygen generator and rebreather system. And Kine is, I believe, will speak on this. He's heading that project. The concept is that algae consume CO2 and produce oxygen, and you can run this as a closed loop. So the patient exhales CO2 and it's regenerated into oxygen. NASA is able to do this. They have a unit in the International Space Station. What we're hoping is that we can do it with readily available materials, such as 2-liter pop bottles, things like that. But I'll let Kine give you more on that. So I will just stop sharing and be happy to answer questions later.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Kine.
Oh, hi. So my name is Kenna, and so I'm just the Algae Rebreather team lead, I guess. And I should share screen as well, just to show you what we've been working on. Yeah, so pretty much like Bruce sort of already went over, like the primary function of the rebreather would be to scrub carbon dioxide from respired air and recycle oxygen that is also in respired air. And the rebreather, what we're hoping is that the algae within the rebreather would convert carbon dioxide to oxygen and provide a second source of oxygen supply to patients. So the impact of this is that we're hoping to increase the capacity of the oxycon system, but also if the algae, if the oxygen generation rates of algae is great enough, then perhaps it could be a system on its own. So yes, it's a closed loop system, and with that, we're hoping to maximize the use of oxygen, especially in in clinical settings where oxygen is limited and very valuable. Yes, so the design Bruce showed you, yes, it was made by Bruce and pretty much also the project as well. So like I always wonder, what would we do without Bruce? But yeah, so it's a small scale prototype and we're hoping to use it to demonstrate that this project is indeed feasible, to show that it actually works. With it, we're also hoping to fail fast and see where the flaws are, what we can improve. This is the first design. So we're hoping to optimize, to get key values for like parameters like oxygen production rates, and then optimize those values through experiments and subsequent iterations of the design. For now, the focus is on growing the algae, because I think that's probably one of the places it's a bit complex, maybe not too straightforward for us right now. So we're going to focus on that, I think. And yes, as Bruce said, cheap and readily available materials. That's the whole idea behind it. So we do have a budget proposal, but like most of it is pretty much from we spend more on, let's say, culturing kits, where we hope to get like the instructions for sort of growing algae. And then based off of that, then we know what we're doing, and then we can sort of, I don't know, make changes as we want. We also have like characterization tools like pH meters, oxygen meters to start off with. Infrastructure is, for now, maybe it looks like that, but it's actually probably one of the cheaper sides, because like we're using soda bottles that we would just get from like, I don't know, like that have already been used, like recycle. We can get those. And then we have chemicals like baking soda and vinegar, which would be our source of carbon dioxide to begin with. But I guess the bigger sides to talk about, okay, aeration pumps, tubing, I will be going to a store to get those. But I think a bigger thing we wanted to discuss was the cosmic facility, like a place where we could actually sort of set up this project. Because right now I would be sort of growing it at home, but maybe that's not very sustainable in the long run. As the project progresses, as the team expands. And I understand we will be working with the Oxycon teams to sort of merge this project into that. So it would probably be a good idea to be able to work alongside them. That said, I understand the space at the moment is quite small, and I think maybe not suited for a wet project like this, because it doesn't have a sink where we can dispose chemicals as we wish. Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that to hopefully get some sort of agreement on the way to go forward with regards to a working space. And of course, in any way I can help to sort of secure that space, I guess. Yes, so that's all we have today as for the Algae Rebreather side of things. And yeah, you can find me on Slack or on my email address.
Well, Kenny, thank you very much for that update. And great to see us taking some inspiration from nature. Why reinvent the wheel and use fancy chemicals like zeolite when algae might be available to us? I appreciate the proposal that you put forward, and just in the interest of time, we'll be certain to follow up and make sure that we make that equipment available to the teams. I think that all sounds very reasonable. Okay, so I think we're going to just go over by about 10 minutes, I imagine. And I'm sorry if that's an inconvenience for anyone, but it's important for us to hear a little bit from the Bubble Helmet team. So please, Bubble Helmet team, please take it from here. And if people have to log off, that's totally understandable as well.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. I'll keep this short, just be mindful of the time. Okay, yeah, so just a short presentation from the Bubble Helmet team. So what we have now developed, in a sense, a non-invasive positive pressure ventilation system. Just go straight into the product specifications as they are now. So we have a completely transparent hood with a transparent neck seal, which creates a hermetic seal around the patient's head. And you can speak, listen, and interact with the patient, and the patient can do the same on the outside. It has 2 ports. So we're still experimenting with 2 different port types. So the first one being a T-piece connected to a 22 millimeter connector on the outside. This is because it'll be readily available in hospitals and can be easily assembled on site if need be. And then the second option being the one on the right, which is a 3D printed port or injection molded port, which could be included in the package for use right away. And then the shoulder straps, which are also made out of the same material, which is TPU, and those can be adjusted based on the patient's comfort and how tight or how loose they need to be. So the benefits of helmet-based ventilation, one being that it increases ventilator supply by allowing patients to go on this non-invasive ventilation rather than a full-fledged ventilator. It improves patient outcomes based on using face masks for non-invasive ventilation. It reduces healthcare costs for the same reason of needing less ventilators. And it also prevents any hospital outbreaks, any viral outbreaks, specifically in this case due to COVID, but also in future cases. Yeah, so these are some uses of the bubble helmet and helmet-based ventilation in general for future uses. So one being the airborne viruses, which is an obvious outcome there. And then it can also become an alternative breathing support device for people who have any facial deformities, such as burn victims or other people of the likes. It can be used in hyperbaric chambers to treat decompression sickness. And it can also be used for patients with sleep apnea instead of using a face mask for a more comfortable and so something they can kind of forget that they're wearing. So these are some of our achievements to date. We did some rapid prototyping last year when the COVID pandemic was kind of at its height from March to June, well, at its height in North America. From March to June. And then that's where we kind of got our minimum viable product. And then we applied for Health Canada approval, which got approved for a clinical trial under the interim order. And we also published our paper. And along with that, open sourced the design completely for recreation and use anywhere around the world. This is kind of where we are at now. Over the past few months, we've been working on setting up a quality management system or something close to a quality management system. So when we do start distributing and selling these devices, there will be traceability and there will be some sort of safety if something does go wrong. We are kind of at the end of that and hoping to apply for approval by the end of May. And then we can start doing a small scale efficacy kind of data collection, get feedback, and then do some design improvements and hopefully continue on to manufacturing and getting the device to patients as fast as possible. And yeah, that's all. Some other notable achievements over the past month, I'd say, was that we got first place at the MDVC award. So that was very exciting. That was for specific for COVID-19 student innovations. And over the past few months, we've also been constantly working on design improvements to incorporate an anti-asphyxiation valve and to have like a pop-off for if the pressure gets too high. And this is all based on feedback we've been receiving from physicians and other engineers who've been showing the device to. Yeah, any questions? Be free to take those.
Okay, thank you so much, Arpan.
Yeah,
I think what we'll do is we'll just, I think, wrap the formal meeting and then we'll stop the recording and go into more of a informal meet and greet. But I just wanted to say from the oxygen concentrator team, it's really exciting to see you guys exploring multiple solutions, and especially in the context of what's happening in India right now, vis-a-vis COVID surge and shortage of oxygen. It certainly underpins or highlights the importance of coming up with novel solutions and open source solutions to oxygen concentration. And a big congratulations to the Bubble Helmet team for that first place finish, which came, I believe, with a $5,000 prize, which will certainly help the team move forward. So thank you to everyone for joining. This is going to end the formal part of our meeting, our monthly Cosmic Symposium. We'll be back at it in a month's time. We do the third Thursday of each month. So that will be at 5:30 p.m. Sometime in June. I'll have to get back to you with a specific date. And thank you very much again. So Patrick.
One final announcement before we end. I just want Dr. Bruce Wern will be presenting at the Public Invention Respiricon on May 28th. And this is going to be a conference bringing together a number of open source oxygen concentrator devices. And I think it's going to be pretty technical in nature, but I think that will be incredibly useful there are a number of groups in India that are currently replicating oxygen concentrator devices that have been designed by groups like ours. So it's actually a really amazing demonstration of the fact that this work is the internet's ability to kind of host the information. It's being picked up. And so that conference is happening May 28th, Public Invention Respiricon.
Right.
Thanks,
So that was Patrick, who's been our executive director for the last 4 or 5 months and a contributor from the very beginning. So, and very much tuned into the open source community. So this is a really exciting conference, exciting to have Cosmic presenting. But you'll see if you check it out, there's a lot I mean, it's the place to be to really understand where the open source community is making impact, both in terms of ventilator design, oxygen concentrators, and how things are rolling out in India. So please do check it out. Okay, so we'll stop the formal meeting and then we'll go into our bit more informal meet and greet and hopefully get to some of those questions. So if you can stop that recording, Patrick. Okay, so Patrick's working on that one. Let's go back to, we'll just go through the teams, cover the questions, and then we'll do one breakout group just to allow people to chit chat a little bit in a smaller group, and we'll probably wrap the informal meet and greet and mingle around 6:20, 6:25. So Dr. Dodek, I believe you had a question for Laurie, so why don't you ask away, please.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Laurie, for your presentation. Very exciting work. I sent you the skeleton of my question in the chat, but I can maybe ask it here. So I'm working with another group who's helping intensive care units do quality improvement, about 46 ICUs in South Asia. And they have, of course, an internet-based system for their health record, but it allows them to share data and to do benchmarking, et cetera. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, this is more of a local, non-internet-based system, but I'm wondering whether in your outcome work, if you're planning to have some sort of application so that people can do quality improvement, that is benchmarking, comparing data. Either over time within a local site, but also among other sites.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thanks for the question. Yeah, we do a lot locally. So that's where we do our offline work locally, but it does go up to the cloud. So we do store it in AWS. And then at that point, you could do metrics and compare. You could do comparisons there. So we do run a lot of those metrics. We don't do a lot in ICUs yet. So we typically do sort of point of care, the initial outpatient capturing, and then we've got modules. So we do the outpatient sort of primary care, and then we've got surgical, so cleft lip and palate, orthopedic surgical. So we've got modules for different medical specialties. And we do that primarily just so that it simplifies life for these individual specialists. But if we were going to do work with like an ICU, we could make a module specifically to monitor outcomes in an ICU. So it's something that would be possible. It's not something we do yet today.
Yeah, it doesn't have to, my question doesn't necessarily require ICU. I just meant using quality improvement, run charts, control charts, et cetera, for any setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So we definitely capture the patient information, and then, yep, you could definitely do those metrics after.
Thank you, Laurie. Just one bit of housekeeping. If you could transfer the host privileges back to Patrick so that we can stop the recording in the Facebook Live. That would be great. And questions for oxygen concentrator. Any questions for the oxygen concentrator team? I think Mike, well, sorry, I'm going to pause, see if there are any questions. I have one, if not. So I think the question for the oxygen concentrator team that I would have is, what are your comments on the current open source solutions that are available in India right now?
I don't think there's any open source devices that are going to kind of definitively solve the problem. There's a number of technical difficulties with oxygen concentrators which have defeated even the big commercial producers. One is the longevity of the compressors. They almost always use oilless, like non-oil lubricated compressors, and their maximum duration of function is somewhere around 5 months, and they have to be rebuilt. And that's not very good in an area where you don't have technicians and you don't have supply lines. Another problem is humidity. Water kills zeolite, and you have to have a design that removes water from the compressed air. Otherwise, it gets into the zeolite and just cakes it up, and it stops working. You can't have a desiccator on the inflow because eventually it will get full of water. You have to have a desiccation system that's regenerated every cycle. And this is actually a requirement in the WHO standards for oxygen concentrators. If you don't have that, then you're doomed. For instance, the OxyKit design uses silica gel, and in a hot, humid environment, like say 30 degrees Celsius with 90% relative humidity, that would be completely saturated, within days or weeks, and then the zeolite dies. So these are the types of problems that haven't been addressed by the open source designs, and this is what we're trying to address: is these kind of fatal flaws in engineering. And that's my excuse for why we haven't finished the job yet, because we're trying to do a good job, and it's really quite challenging.
Well, thanks for that perspective. And I guess humidity and heat is a particular challenge in India. I'm sure some of us have spent time in India and can remember that humidity and heat was a challenge for us individually as humans, let alone the oxygen concentrators. So with that, Patrick, I think is going to end our live stream.